A story that has been percolating through the news on TikTok. The United States government has been proposing banning TikTok for some time on the basis that it is controlled by the Chinese, and information from TikTok is going directly to China, who can use it as an open source intelligence, not only based on what people are posting, of course, directly, which they could see anyway, but associated metadata, other information provided by users to the app, and so forth and so on. So the United States has been considering a ban on TikTok on a national security basis. Whatever the merits of banning TikTok or not are on their own terms, the way that the United States government is going about this has raised concerns because there is a bill that has been proposed by Congress to do this, but gives the government a lot of power that would extend well beyond TikTok. Two major bills that are being proposed to deal with this are working through their way in the House and Senate right now. Those raising the alarm about the Chinese ownership of TikTok cite invasive surveillance practices, privacy violations collected by the excessive collection and exploitation of user data, addictive design features, and harmful conduct, which to some degree might be true of other social media. But the fact that maybe it's owned by China and that information is going directly to China without any filters maybe presents some concerns for the United States. But of course, the issue about TikTok is not the immediate issue. The House bill that's been proposed, called the Data Act, is surreal in its implications. The bill would require the Secretary of the Treasury to ban any U.S.-based financial transaction by any American who had knowingly transferred sensitive personal information to any entity owned by or even subject to the influence of China. Because the language is very broad, this could mean any company or individual who had forwarded emails or shared health information with a company that had even partial Chinese ownership could find themselves barred from all financial transactions. The assets would be frozen. So the way that the law is written, at least on its own terms, or the way that the House resolution is written on its own terms, because it's not or the proposal at least is been proposed, it would allow or require the Secretary of the Treasury to freeze all financial assets of anyone who shared any information of any description with any company owned or controlled, even in part, by China. So obviously that gives a lot of power to the Secretary of the Treasury. The bill also would require the U.S. government to freeze all assets of any foreign person anywhere in the world who operates directly or otherwise deals in any connected software application that's subject to the influence of China. So freeze all your financial assets everywhere. The Senate proposal has its own problems. The Restrict Act, the Senate's version of the TikTok bill, which has more momentum, has other concerning language. The Restrict Act would require the executive branch to prohibit or otherwise mitigate any transaction of information or communication that's under the control of any foreign adversary upon designation by the Secretary of Commerce. It would have a wide-ranging civil and criminal options to enforce mitigation, including forced divestment of assets, seizure of assets, and subpoenas. The initial list of foreign adversaries would include China, Cuba, Russia, Israel, Venezuela, and North Korea, but would allow the executive branch to add any foreign country by pure designation. They can just add it. Also, it would allow the Secretary of Commerce to control not only media relating to social media, but also control other technologies, including VPNs, quantum computing, and all kinds of other things. So in the effort to try to control TikTok, we want to give the Secretary of Commerce the power to basically regulate, control, civilly, and criminally punish anyone who uses basically any computing technology, basically of any description. While, of course, it could be used discretionarily, the way the language is written is incredibly broad, extremely broad. Section 11 of the bill establishes draconian penalties for American citizens who would attempt to evade it, for example, by using VPN. At least the language allows for that in its current proposal. So it is presenting many, many issues. So whether or not banning TikTok or not is a good idea or not The proposals of Congress about how they want to go about this are giving US government agencies, whether it's Treasury or Department of Commerce, insane levels of power to control, freeze assets, divest assets, seize assets, control people's financial accounts, civilly or criminally prosecute them for any sort of technology that would allow them to circumvent it, and so forth and so on. So, as Rahm Emanuel once famously said, never let a good crisis go to waste. And some of the proposals in Congress are certainly doing that. This has been called the Patriot Act for the internet. I think is a fair descriptor. So, a lot of concerning stuff in the language, to be sure.